Hello everyone, and I am back with my review for White Girl in Danger, the new musical from Michael O. Jackson, who wrote A Strange Loop. Guys, this show shook me, bro. I was shook. I walked out being like, huh? Who, what, where am I, who am I, what am I? Is the universe real? And there's so much to say. I want to preface this by saying I saw the first preview, and Michael O. Jackson said that this was everything that he ever written for the show in one performance. So this was a rough draft. This was the roughest of rough drafts. So what I say is probably not what the show is going to be when you see it. It's going to be completely different. I don't think this version of the show will even be the version you're going to see tonight if you go and see it, which is Thursday night, or if you see it Friday night. Whenever you see this video, a lot of stuff is going to be cut probably. So this is definitely a rough cut. So I'm not going to be too critical about it, because you could almost say this wasn't a finished product as much as this was an assembly cut. So, the good. We'll start with the good. Eric and Tara were the standouts. So Eric played basically the basic white guy in the all-white town, and then Tara, I'm probably mispronouncing that name, so I'm sorry about that, played Nell, and Nell was the mother of our main character, whose name is Keisha Gibbs, who's played by LaTorta Edwards. And Eric and Tara were amazing in this show. I thought Eric honestly was like, he played multiple different characters, and Tara just had so much great comedic timing, and those two felt like they had the best developed characters. Like, Eric definitely was more surface level, but Nell felt like the one that had the most nuanced character development that you could root for, that you liked, because Keisha was pretty unlikable. I'm not gonna lie. I think that was kind of the point though, but Keisha was just, you didn't like her. And I honestly thought that they were worthy of a Tony nomination or a Tony win. This isn't on Broadway, so it wouldn't contend for the Tonys, but if it ever did go to Broadway, I think that there would be a lot of nominations for those two actors, because they are just brilliant, and they are truly doing a marathon, especially Eric, because he literally will be in a costume, and as a completely, as a character, he'll go off stage for 5 seconds, he's in a completely different costume and a completely different personality. It's brilliant. The book was very strong and has the potential to be a great satire musical. This definitely is a satire parody of, you know, soap operas and all of that stuff, and it definitely harkens back to being overly dramatic, and definitely, you know, is in the style of a overly dramatic soap opera. So if you go in expecting for the characters to act normally and for things to be normal, it's not. I think that watching some soap operas or Hallmark movies might get you into the vibe of the show more, and then you might actually laugh at some of the jokes, because a lot of the jokes went over my head, and that's not because they weren't funny, but that's just because I didn't get what they were making fun of, because I don't watch that kind of stuff. All White, which was the opening number, was very catchy and a great opening number. The Act 2 song was good, as was White Girl in Danger song. Oh yeah, the Act 2 song, it's like a ball sequence that was pretty catchy, and then White Girl in Danger, which is kind of the anthem of the show, is super catchy, and you'll definitely be humming it on your way out. James Jackson was so good in this, and he has a Tony-worthy monologue, which I thought was just so brilliantly done. It's a monologue that's sung and spoken at the same time with music underscoring, and it is, he is truly coming to his own. This is like his breakout performance, in my opinion. Like, he really shows what he can do, and he just blew me away. Like, I was completely in awe of his performance, and when he was doing his monologue, I was literally on the edge of my seat. I was in utter shock, and he just, and he's not even like, he doesn't have a scene where he's crying, it's just the performance. It's so nuanced and so subtle, and, yeah, man, it just, he is truly, like, a big reason to see it. So I loved what the show's message was, and how bold and original it was, which is to be expected from Michael O. Jackson. The whole concept, in my opinion, is worthy of praise. And this is basically the non-spoiler section of the video. In the second half of the video, it's going to be spoilers, so this is kind of general, like, messages about what the show is. The ending of the show and Act 2 are the strongest parts. I think that Act 1 was way too long. It was about 80 minutes long. The show was at 7 o'clock and it ended at 10:20. This was 3 hours long. This was like Sondheim level long. So it was crazy long. Not gonna have everything that was in this first night in other nights, and I'm sure they're gonna trim it down, but they could easily have cut out 30 minutes from the first act, and they would have been fine. I think that the Act 1 could be more focused, better paced, better structured, and they kind of focus on stuff that isn't super relevant and doesn't really explain the why of why we're watching, you could say, very annoying people interacting with each other, and who have very basic goals, like having kids with someone or eating disorders. I will say that the show's pace is very frantic, and it goes from one thing to the other so quickly that you don't get to really know the characters. You don't get to really figure out their personalities, and while they are meant to be surface level, we should at least have some kind of substance, and I feel like there wasn't equal substance for every character. I think if they had more genuine moments and they slowed down every now and again, that would help, because you're mentally taking in a lot. There's a lot of ideas and metaphors and things in every scene, and it's a lot to take in. It's overwhelming, and I think if they pared that down and they just allowed you to really take in the moment and be like, oh, that's what that means, it would definitely contribute to you enjoying the show more. The score isn't that strong, but Michael said that that's kind of the point. He said that the songs are meant to state an idea and then get in and out. Yeah, and again, Act 1, like, think of Lord of the Rings Return of the King ending, because that's literally what the Act 1 ending was like. It's like, is this gonna end, and how long is this gonna go for, and oh, we're at the end? This is definitely the last song. Oh, there's another song? Oh, there's another song? It was crazy. And I do think that the structure of the first act is confusing and convoluted, and it allows for confusion and not knowing what the point of any of this is, which I think is not a great thing, but I think they'll work on it, and I have faith that Michael will fix all of this. The first act is a soap story. It could be more grounded, and at times it felt like a Star Kid show, and it felt kind of cheap in, I guess, the aesthetic of it, but that's more of just like a, you know, accessory comment, I guess. I think they could explore the themes and larger ideas of the show more and tie it into the plot more. And one huge issue was the sound of the band was way too high, so a lot of the lyrics and dialogue got missed. And in the show, the black people do have accents, and it makes sense to the show, but I do think that it comes with you not really understanding what they say, and some of the stuff they say is important. So maybe if they toned it down or spoke slower, we could understand it more. So that's my non-spoiler review of White Girl in Danger. Well, this is the first part. Now I'm going to get into the spoilers. But before I say that, I want to say that if this show does go to Broadway, I think it could succeed on Broadway. And I think the first act is a little bit more mainstream than Strange Loop. That I think that it might be more mainstream than Strange Loop, but ultimately, if it did go on Broadway, it would last as long as Strange Loop or as long as Band's Visit. So not very long. Definitely would win the Tonys and all that stuff. And I think it has very interesting prospects, but I would almost do another run before going to Broadway. Although Michael R. Jackson said that he didn't intend on this to go to Broadway, but I feel like the show is very much worthy of going to Broadway, even if not for a long time.